Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Anupam Saxena. I'm currently working in Operations Management area at Jaipuria Institute of Management, Lucknow. In today's session, I would like to discuss with you Environmental Impact Assessment, which is also called as EIA in short. So it is a very important concept in the field of sustainable operations management. After this session, you will be able to understand the concept, importance, and methods involved in environmental impact assessment. So EIA is a systematic process that evaluates the potential environmental consequences of proposed projects. EIA helps to identify, predict, and mitigate adverse effects, ensuring that development projects are environmentally sustainable. By integrating environmental considerations into decision making, EIA promotes sustainable development and enhances the overall quality of the project. It can also be considered as a process which is used to evaluate the potential environmental, social, and economic impacts of a proposed project or development before actually it is being carried out. The main purpose of environmental impact assessment is to ensure that decision makers have a detailed understanding of the potential effects of a project and to identify measures to mitigate or avoid adverse impacts. The Indian Environmental Impact Assessment process, it began in the year 1976-77 when the Planning Commission tasked the Department of Science and Technology with assessing river valley projects from an environmental perspective. Until 1994, environmental clearance was an administrative decision lacking legislative support. However, on 27th January 1994, the Union Ministry of Environment and Forest under the Environmental Protection Act 1986 made environmental clearance mandatory for certain projects. In September 2006, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change introduced new EIA legislations, further strengthening India's environmental assessment framework. Now, talking about the different steps which are involved in EIA process, so it comprises of several key steps to evaluate the potential environmental impact of a proposed project. So it begins with screening to determine if the project requires a full assessment, followed by scoping to define the study's boundaries and impacts to be considered. Impact assessment involves identifying and analyzing potential environment, social and health aspects, while mitigation proposes measures to avoid or minimize adverse impact. A detailed report is then prepared outlining the findings and proposed mitigation measures. And this report is reviewed by regulatory authorities and stakeholders to make informed decisions. Monitoring ensures that the project complies with environmental regulations and that mitigation measures are effective. We are going to discuss about these steps shortly in a brief. So the first step which is involved in the environmental impact assessment process is screening. This step determines whether an EIA is applicable to a particular project and helps to distinguish the level of environmental impact of any project. The screening process involves categorizing the project proposal into three major categories. So category number 1 comprises of those projects that would require an environmental impact assessment. Category number 2 comprises of those projects that do not require an environmental impact assessment. And the category 3, which is the last category, it is for those kind of projects for which the application of EIA is unclear. So this initial screening is crucial as it sets the stage for the rest of the EIA process, guiding the level of assessment and scrutiny needs for any project. Talking about the scoping, so during a scoping stage, the project team identifies the key issues and potential impacts that need to be addressed in the EIA. This involves defining the boundaries and limits of the project, including geographical extent, time frame and components. One of the primary objectives of a scoping stage is to assemble baseline information about the existing environmental, social and economic conditions in the project area. This information helps in identifying the major issues of concerns and predicting the potential impacts of the project. Public participation is crucial at this stage as it allows stakeholders to provide inputs and raise issues that should be considered. In the EIA, public input helps to ensure that the assessment addresses the concerns of all relevant stakeholders. In identification, the cumulative impacts might include considering the cumulative effects of the proposed project in combination with other past, present, and reasonably foreseeable future projects in the area, evaluating the potential for additive effects of multiple projects for the environment, communities, and economies of the region. Indirect and secondary impacts might include considering indirect and secondary impacts that may result from the proposed project, such as changes in land usage pattern, population growth, or economic development in the region. Mitigation measures might include identifying potential measures for mitigating or minimizing adverse impacts, including the changes to the project design, use of best management practices, and implementation of monitoring and reporting programs. Considering the feasibility and effectiveness of mitigation measures in reducing or avoiding adverse impacts. So in the mitigation stage of an environmental impact assessment, the project team suggests methods for addressing and reducing the identified impacts to avoid or minimize potential problems. These methods are typically based on legal mandates, technical and scientific criteria, and social acceptability. So during this stage, the team conducts a cost-benefit analysis to evaluate the feasibility and effectiveness of various mitigation measures. This analysis helps in determining the most appropriate and practical measures to reduce the impact of the project. So the reporting stage of an environmental impact assessment involves presenting the results of the assessment in the form of a comprehensive report known as environmental impact statement. So this report is submitted after carrying out the assessment and aims to provide decision makers with the necessary and accurate information to make informed decisions about the proposed project. The EIS typically includes a detailed description of the project, an overview of the assessment methodology, and summary of the key findings and discussions. It also outlines the predicted environment and social impact of the project, as well as proposed mitigation measures to address these impacts. So the EIS is also designed to be accessible to a wider range of stakeholders, including government agencies, project developers, and the public. It is often accompanied by technical reports and studies that provide more detailed information on specific aspects of the assessment. So overall, the reporting stage is crucial for ensuring transparency and accountability in the EIA process. By providing decision makers with a clear and comprehensive understanding of the potential impact of a project, the EIS will help to ensure that the development decisions are made in the best interest of the environment and society. So the review and decision-making stage of environmental impact assessment involves examining the adequacy and effectiveness of the EIA report and providing the information necessary for decision-making. This stage is critical for ensuring that the EIA process has been conducted properly and that the findings and recommendations are reliable as well as credible. During the review process, regulatory authorities, decision makers, and other stakeholders, they evaluate EIA report to determine if it meets the required standards and guidelines. This includes assessing the completeness and accuracy of the information presented, as well as the appropriateness of the analysis and conclusions. Talking about decision-making stage of an environmental impact assessment, so it is the ultimate and most crucial step in the process. During this stage, the environmental impact assessment report is presented to the decision-making authorities who have the power to approve or disapprove the project based on the recommendations of the report. The decision-making authorities carefully review the EIA report, taking into account the findings, conclusion, and proposed mitigation measures. They consider the potential environment, social, and economic impact of the project, as well as any concerns which is raised by stakeholders and the public. So, talking about the post-monitoring stage of an environmental impact assessment, It comes into play once the project is operational. So during this stage, the environmental impact assessment reporting manager or a designated team, it audits the project to ensure that it complies with the standards and requirements which are outlined in the EIA report. This may include verifying that the environment and social impact of the project do not exceed legal standards and that any mitigation measures recommended in the EIA report are being implemented. The auditing process involves conducting regular inspections and assessment of the project site and operations to monitor its environmental platforms. The goal is to ensure that the project is operating in a manner that minimizes its impact on the environment and local communities. In addition to auditing compliance with legal standards, the post-commissioning stage also involves implementing any suggestions for mitigation measures identified in the EIA report. This may include implementing additional monitoring programs, modifying operational practices, or implementing new technologies to reduce environmental impact. Another important aspect of post-commissioning stage is providing early warning of any potential environment or social issues that may arise during the operation of the project. This allows project managers to take corrective action quickly and prevent or minimize any adverse impact. Environmental impact assessment contributes significantly to better environmental planning and the design of proposals. By considering environmental aspects during the planning stage, environmental impact assessment would help to balance the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit. This proactive approach would minimize waste and reduce environmental impact, ensuring that projects comply with relevant standards and regulations. One of the key benefits of EIA is its ability to anticipate and avoid the cost associated with any kind of unanticipated environmental impacts. So by safeguarding natural resources and promoting sustainable practices, EIA not only protect the environment, but it would also minimize any kind of potential financial risk for project developers. Moreover, EIA, which is also called as Environmental Impact Assessment, it involves public participation, ensures that stakeholder concerns and perspectives are considered in decision-making processes. This not only enhances the quality of the project outcome, but would also increase public acceptance and support for the project. In conclusion, EIA plays a vital role in promoting environmental sustainable development by integrating environmental consideration into project planning and design, and also safeguarding natural resources and enhancing public participation and acceptability. Thank you very much for your kind attention.